She would never confess it openly, but inside every woman there exists a quiet vulnerability, a hidden point that, when activated, dissolves her defenses, disrupts her certainty, and pulls her toward you before she can explain why. Machiavelli warned long ago, whoever governs perception governs desire. That principle is exactly what you are about to understand. This is not luck. This is not charm. This is strategy. A form of seduction so precise, so subtle, and so effective that it almost feels forbidden. Prepare yourself, because once you see this, you will never look at the game the same way again. She will never say it aloud. Yet within every woman lies a silent trigger that responds when a man arrives with the right blend of presence, mystery, and intention. It has nothing to do with looks, wealth, or rehearsed lines. It has everything to do with understanding emotional structure the way Machiavelli understood power itself. Once you grasp this mechanism, seduction begins to unfeel unfair. Not because you force anything, but because everything flows so naturally that she believes the choice was hers, and in truth, it was. You simply shape the conditions. That is how the game begins: subtle, silent, calculated, and always elegant. The first truth you must understand is this: women are not drawn to what is obvious. Obvious is predictable. Predictable is boring. What captures her attention is the sensation of standing before a man who sees more, knows more, and moves slower. Machiavelli warned that urgency weakens authority. A man who rushes exposes his dependence on approval. So you never appear hungry, you never appear desperate, you never appear in need. You move as if what you desire is already yours. And that is when she begins to wonder what you know that others do not. Seduction that feels effortless disarms her before she can even raise her guard. Not through clever phrases, but through micro-signals. A gaze held 1 second longer, a restrained smile that barely forms, a calm comfort with silence. Women perceive these details instinctively. She notices your posture. She feels your breathing. She senses how calmly you occupy space. It is not your words that draw her in, it is your presence. Ordinary men try to compensate for insecurity with excess. They speak too much, explain too much, compliment too much. Excess reveals scarcity. Machiavelli understood that mystery is power, and mystery is the pulse of seduction. What cannot be fully read becomes impossible to ignore. You never offer your full story. You give fragments, half sentences, carefully placed hints. She completes the rest with her imagination, and her imagination works for you long before anything physical occurs. True seduction is not a contest of intelligence, it is guidance. Like carrying a delicate flame, steady enough to protect it, gentle enough not to extinguish it. The Machiavellian art lies in making everything appear unplanned. You plant seeds quietly, you let them grow unseen, and by the time she becomes aware, she is already invested. Not because you pushed, but because you allowed her to walk willingly. Everything begins with energy. Energy is not mysticism, it is behavioral transmission. If you arrive tense, she tightens. If you arrive insecure, she closes. But if you arrive grounded, nothing to prove, nowhere to rush, her internal world reorganizes itself around you. Curiosity awakens, and curiosity is the first gate of seduction. From there, it unfolds almost automatically. She starts watching you more than others, listening more carefully, imagining without noticing she is imagining. Seduction happens inside her, not through you. Women respond to perceived value, not displayed value. Displayed value feels forced. Perceived value feels real. You demonstrate value through composure, through how you handle unpredictability, through how you never seek approval, through how you remain steady where others unravel. Each detail amplifies your presence. She cannot explain why she feels something different, but she feels it, and that is enough. This is the space where seduction feels almost forbidden, not because it manipulates, but because it operates above language. You touch internal mechanisms most people never see. And before she realizes it, she is already signaling, adjusting her posture, playing with her hair, glancing repeatedly, asking questions that sound casual but carry intent. She begins to want your attention. And there is no greater leverage than being wanted. When she senses that you control the rhythm, she willingly follows your pace. Yet you remain light, relaxed, and capable of walking away at any moment. Because you could leave, she wants you to stay. The mind values what it might lose. Machiavelli knew this. Women feel it instinctively. This is where Machiavellian seduction separates itself from ordinary effort. Women do not fall for force, they fall through layers. Slow, invisible layers that stack within her awareness without detection. The goal is not to impress her. It is to replace the idea she has of you with the idea you choose to plant. The first layer is emotional. You become relief. Everyone demands from her work, family, attention, validation. You do not. With you, she can breathe. Your presence says, I am not here to take, I am here because I choose to be. That alone disarms her. The second layer is controlled unpredictability. Not coldness, not disappearance. Balance. You are slightly less available than expected, yet more present than most men ever are. You respond when you choose, but when you do, it matters. You have a life. And once she feels that, she adjusts to you. What comes too easily loses value. The third layer is selective attention. You do not praise everything, you do not validate constantly, you choose moments. And when you do, the effect doubles. There is a difference between generic compliments and intentional observation. Being truly seen is rare and dangerously compelling. The fourth layer is emotional stability. She will test you. Always. Not to attack, but to measure your structure. If you react with irritation, you fail. If you react with neediness, you fail. If you respond with calm humor and composure, you rise. Power lives in self-control. The fifth layer is physical presence without urgency. Not rushing, not grabbing, allowing closeness to develop slowly. The quiet lean, the lowered voice. A light touch that lingers just long enough to be felt, but not claimed. Your gaze moves, returns, and rests. Not predatory, not pleading, simply certain. And in that certainty, her defenses finally loosen. Because what feels controlled, calm, and intentional is what feels irresistible. Like someone who truly appreciates what he sees, women perceive these details in amplified resolution. It is never the touch itself, they feel the intention behind it. When the intention is calm, grounded, and mature, she senses it. She feels herself becoming more interested than she originally planned. This is the moment seduction begins to feel almost illegal. You did not take, you did not force, you did not conquer. You simply created a space where she allowed herself to feel, and when a woman allows herself to feel, the game shifts entirely. Now she thinks of you during the day. She recalls the things you said. She searches for signs of your attention, even in small ways. She notices whether you saw a picture she posted. She becomes more open to conversations she would normally ignore. Most importantly, she begins testing you. That is the clearest signal that you are already affecting her. Tests are not obstacles, they are proof of impact. She only tests what she fears losing, and when provocations come, you do not confront. You do not complain, you do not dramatize, you smile, shift the frame, and lead. Through this, she understands something rare. You are not merely confident, you are grounded in your own energy. This combination is almost extinct. She realizes that your calm presence soothes her, your attention excites her, your absence unsettles her, your presence leaves a mark, and that you see beyond her surface. Few can resist being seen that deeply. Seduction occurs when she realizes you can touch emotional layers other men overlook, and you do it without rushing, without pushing, simply by existing as a man who controls his own axis. When she senses this, when she feels her interest slipping beyond her control, she may hide it, rationalize it, pretend she is detached. But her body betrays her voice betrays her eyes betray her. This is when Machiavellian seduction becomes inevitable. Desire is already planted, you merely allow it to bloom. When she feels that you have an emotional impact she cannot explain, a profound shift occurs. She begins to see herself through your eyes. Every subtle gesture creates expectation, guiding her behavior. This is the most delicate phase. Too much force makes her retreat, too much softness makes her lose interest. The precision, the exact dosage, is what makes everything feel inevitable, natural, almost forbidden. Next comes mastery of emotional rhythm. Every woman has her internal tempo, sometimes fast, anxious, scattered, sometimes slow, deep, contemplative. Most men attempt to match it. You do not. You establish your rhythm and invite her to step into it. When your rhythm is calm, centered, secure, she automatically slows. She senses a man who is not swept by chaos, but who controls it. Contrast creates instant attraction. Then comes the most powerful weapon of Machiavellian seduction, conscious silence. Not cold silence, not avoidance, but silence with intention. You simply watch her speak, smile subtly, tilt your head slightly, and allow the moment to breathe. Women are unused to this. They are accustomed to men filling every silence. By refusing, you create tension, and tension is the oxygen of desire. Next is intelligent humor. Not forced, not exaggerated, not recycled. Surgical humor that reveals sharpness. When she provokes, you disarm with wit, never disrespect. When she tests, you answer with calm ease. By being unpredictable yet composed, you demonstrate mastery. Humor here is intimacy. It shows understanding of her subtext. Then comes atmospheric presence. Your presence transcends physicality and becomes psychological. She thinks of you before sleep, in the shower, on the bus, at work. You occupy her thoughts without permission. This is not through overwhelm, it is through unforgettable quality. Micro-interactions leave deep impressions. It is never quantity, only precision. Most men fail here. They see involvement and rush, wanting fast dates, guarantees, advancement. Machiavelli never erred this way. The moment she begins to miss you is when you remain most elegant. You do not close the deal. You allow her to take small initiatives. When she participates, sends the first message, or expresses desire, her psychological investment deepens. Women value what they help build. You preserve mystery while creating freedom. Freedom multiplies desire. Next is proximity. Lean in slightly closer than usual during conversation, but do not touch. The small reduction in distance triggers internal senses she cannot consciously control. Breathing adjusts. Adrenaline rises. Dopamine spikes. You do not need to touch yet. Closeness alone is magnetic. When you do touch, it must be deliberate, slow, and seemingly incidental. A touch on the shoulder as she laughs. A brief graze of the hand when passing an object. Every touch must feel natural, inevitable, and unhurried. Rushed contact breaks the spell. Subtle, intentional contact builds a narrative her body understands more than her mind. Finally, the gaze. The Machiavellian gaze is calibrated, sometimes deep, commanding, serious, sometimes fleeting, leaving her wanting more. Eye contact is a rhythm, a signal, a silent conversation. It is as much an art as touch, as much power as presence. It commits seconds longer than usual. The gaze carries meanings words can never reach. When she senses that you see more than she speaks, a silent intimacy forms. And silent intimacy is addictive. This is why everything begins to feel illegal. You bypass the conventional rules of seduction and enter a deeper emotional logic. You touch parts of her that rarely get touched. You create an experience, not a technique. You stop being an option, you become an atmosphere. When that happens, she stops comparing you to other men. You are no longer a candidate, you become an enigma. And the enigma always wins. Soon, you notice she is fully invested but refuses to admit it. She talks about you discreetly to her friends. She watches you when she thinks you are unaware. She responds quickly to messages but masks it with casualness. She sends signals she never did before. All of this means one thing. You now control the emotional narrative. At this stage, all that is required is calm, subtle guidance to deepen her attachment. When a woman begins to revolve emotionally around you, the game shifts into silent desire. She still convinces herself she is in control, but inside, your presence is settling into her mind. This is the most sensitive, the most powerful moment. If you act like an ordinary man, you lose everything. If you act like a Machiavellian, her desire becomes inevitable. Here is the essential truth. Your job is not to win her. Your job is to make it impossible for her not to want you. Ordinary men chase, plead, and seek approval. Machiavellian men create internal experiences that make a woman pursue them, not because they are unreachable, but because they have become emotionally indispensable. The first step in this phase is selective presence. Previously, you were present enough to build the bond. Now, you subtly reduce your frequency, not out of coldness, but strategy. You do not disappear. You allow her to feel your absence in small, calculated doses. This creates emotional gaps she subconsciously fills with thoughts of you. The more she thinks, the more she wants. Intelligent absence is more seductive than constant presence, but this distance is mathematical, not emotional. You never vanish at crucial moments. You never leave her stranded. You give her just enough space to recognize she misses you. When you return, you do so with charm, light energy, and stability. She understands your absence is never punishment. It is rhythm, a rhythm she begins to follow. The second step is deep connection, built not through obvious questions, but through nuanced conversations. While others ask, "What do?" you ask, "What do you seek?" While others compliment her looks, you notice her choices, perceptions, and subtle gestures. You explore layers few men ever reach. Touching those layers opens her emotionally without her realizing it. Vulnerability follows, and vulnerability breeds attachment. Here, you become the only man capable of eliciting sensations she cannot feel with anyone else. This is not about passion, it is about internal resonance, safety, freedom, mystery, curiosity, intensity. You embody the perfect balance between emotional danger and psychological comfort. That combination is irresistible. The third step is strategic sensuality. Machiavellian sensuality is subtle, never vulgar or forced. It lives in pauses, in your tone of voice, the slight lean forward, the way you hold a glass, the motion of your hands, the fleeting glance at her lips when she least expects it. Sensuality is about intention, not action. That is why it feels forbidden. It occurs without touch, without pressure, without haste. Then comes the turning point. She realizes she cares. This often manifests subtly through jealousy. She begins asking about your routine, about your interactions with other women, and notices how your attention is distributed.